Mark was used to being in tight spots. He had more than a few close calls in his career as an intergalactic explorer. But this was new. The ship, a sleek, shimmering model of alien engineering, lurched as he scrambled down the hallway. His boots slid across the smooth metal floor, and for a moment, he felt like an idiot. He didn't even know how he'd gotten here. All he remembered was running from a bounty hunter, and then crashing onto this alien vessel, completely by accident. It didn't help that the only occupant of the ship was an alien woman who barely looked old enough to fly a starship, let alone handle the chaos he had brought with him. Her name was Zilara. She was tall, lithe, and covered in silvery scales that shimmered in the low light. She had wide, luminous eyes that flickered with curiosity, and an expression that seemed far too earnest for someone in her situation. As far as he could tell, she was more interested in trying to make sense of the human she had just discovered than, well, figuring out why the hell her ship had been attacked by bounty hunters in the first place. "Human, are you okay?" she asked, her voice soft, with an accent that was alien but oddly melodic. Mark straightened up, dusting off his shirt, which, let's face it, didn't have much left to it after the crash landing. He was covered in a fair amount of dirt and debris, and his shirt was torn to shreds. Yet, for some reason, Zilara didn't seem fazed. She just kept staring at him, her eyes darting between his bare arms and the exposed skin on his chest. "Yeah, I'm fine," Mark said, dusting himself off. "Just a little, shaken up. You know, from the crash." Zilara stepped forward, her eyes scanning his body like she was taking inventory. "Interesting," she said, her voice almost a whisper. "Is this normal for your species? Your lack of protection?" Mark blinked, trying to keep his composure. "Protection?" he repeated. She nodded eagerly. "Your clothing, of course. We are taught that humans are vulnerable to the elements without it. But you seem comfortable. How does your species survive without it?" Mark couldn't help but chuckle at the odd question. This was some deep, intergalactic misunderstanding, wasn't it? "Oh, we just, deal with it," he said, waving his hand nonchalantly, trying to brush off the situation. Zilara's curiosity didn't let up. "How do you keep from getting cold? Or hurt?" She tilted her head, scanning him as though she was trying to figure out if he was some kind of superior being who didn't need basic clothing to function. "Right," Mark said, rolling his eyes and crossing his arms. "Humans are just, well, we're tough, okay." Zilara seemed fascinated by his response, nodding as though she was trying to process the information. "I see," she said, taking a step back. "Then I presume you don't mind removing your covering to work on the ship, yes?" Mark blinked. "Wait, what?" Zilara smiled brightly, a mix of innocence and excitement in her expression. "Yes, that's how we repair things here. We don't wear protective gear while fixing the Starship. It's a cultural norm of my species. It's necessary for optimal performance. The machinery responds better to your touch when you're, well, free of covering." Mark stared at her, trying to comprehend her words. Then it hit him. She thought this was some kind of ritual? A human custom? His instincts kicked in, and before he could stop himself, he began to laugh. "Are you serious?" Zilara tilted her head, looking confused. "Is it not customary for your species to remove clothing while working on complex machines?" "No," Mark said, grinning. "Not unless you're in a sauna or something, and even then, it's usually just for a nice, relaxing time." He gave her an exaggerated wink. Zilara blinked at him, and for a moment, Mark thought she might finally get the joke. But she didn't. She was too curious, too literal to catch his sarcasm. "Oh! How fascinating!" she exclaimed. "Then it is a ritualistic practice of human culture. I must try it." Before Mark could even begin to explain that no, this wasn't some human tradition, Zilara stripped off her top without hesitation, revealing smooth, luminescent skin beneath. Mark's eyes went wide. He'd expected a cultural misunderstanding, but this was something else. "Wait!" he stammered, holding his hands up. Hold on, there's no need for this. We're not. But Zilara was already pulling off her trousers, completely oblivious to his panic. Do not worry, human, she said cheerfully. We are both free now to work together without any impediments. It is how our species achieves optimal performance. I am sure your naked form is perfectly fine. Mark didn't know where to look. His brain was running at full speed, trying to make sense of the situation. But this was absurd. In all his years of traveling the galaxy, he had never encountered anything like this. An alien species that was this carefree? This innocent? Yeah, Mark muttered, scratching his head. Great. But I think I should, keep my clothes on. Just a suggestion. Zilara looked at him with wide, innocent eyes. Why would you need clothes when there are no rules to follow? We are in a private space, yes? There is no need for embarrassment here. At that moment, Mark realized that he had no way out of this. This ship was her world, her rules, and he was completely out of his depth. Fine, he muttered. You want to get to work? Let's just fix this ship and get out of here, okay? Zilara beamed at him. Yes, human, let us begin. I shall hold nothing back. My full attention is on you and your skills. Mark wasn't sure what was happening anymore. All he knew was that getting this ship fixed, and getting himself away from Zilara's endless curiosity, was his only goal now. The sooner they were off this ship, the sooner he could return to some semblance of normalcy. At least that's what he hoped. But deep down, Mark realized he was in for much more than just fixing a starship. He was in for a whole new kind of adventure, one where nothing was quite what he expected. Mark was starting to get the feeling that he was completely out of his depth. Zilara, the alien starship pilot, was as clueless about human boundaries as she was about basic clothing etiquette. He had barely finished adjusting his own clothes when Zilara had finally agreed to put hers back on, for whatever reason, before she was already dragging him to the engine room to start the repair. The whole situation felt like a fever dream, but here he was, with the starship falling apart around him, and a very enthusiastic alien who seemed to think stripping down was the answer to every mechanical problem. So, what's the first step? Mark asked, trying to focus on something practical. Zilara's eyes lit up, and she pointed to a glowing panel on the wall. This is the central system core. It's malfunctioning. The panels are blocked by a field of energy, so we must remove our... She paused, glancing at Mark. Our clothes to interface with the system. It makes the process smoother. Mark blinked at her. You're telling me you need to be naked to fix this thing? Zilara nodded eagerly, completely missing the skepticism in his tone. Yes, it's standard practice for my species. I understand humans have a different way of operating, but this will work. You will see. She stepped closer to the panel, her scales shimmering faintly in the dim light. Mark rubbed his forehead, trying to keep his thoughts from spiraling. He wasn't sure what he had expected when he first ended up here, but being stuck with a naked alien who insisted on undressing for a starship malfunction was definitely not on the list. All right, he muttered, more to himself than anything. I'll humor this for now, but we're getting out of here as soon as we can. Zilara, full of determination, stood next to the panel and removed her top again, causing Mark to freeze in place. He wasn't sure what he was more shocked by, the fact that she just casually stripped down, or that she wasn't even the slightest bit self-conscious about it. Okay, let's do this, she said, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. Mark had to force himself not to stare at her. He knew it wasn't right, but his brain was racing in a completely different direction. How the hell did he end up in a situation where fixing a starship involved stripping down to the skin? And why the hell was he still standing there, awkwardly watching an alien pilot do things that didn't make any sense? Zilara moved closer to the panel, her hands hovering over the control board. She muttered a string of unintelligible words in her alien language, and Mark's eyes caught something strange. The panel was reacting. Light patterns shifted, energy began to pulse and crackle, and the whole thing hummed to life in ways that should have been impossible. Then she turned back to him, her eyes bright with excitement. Human, you must try. The ship is calling for your touch. Mark narrowed his eyes. It's calling for my touch? What is this? A weird alien version of a spa treatment. He tried to play it off, though inside, he was freaking out. Yes. Try it, Zalara insisted. She was looking at him as if this was some sort of cosmic rite of passage. Mark sighed deeply. If he didn't do something soon, she was going to drag him into this mess for good. He eyed the panel for a moment, considering the strange glowing symbols that seemed to beckon him. He had been around alien tech before, but this was something different. Something uncomfortably suggestive. Oh hell, Mark muttered, deciding to give it a shot. He stepped forward and hesitated, his fingers brushing against the smooth surface of the panel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, like a jolt of electricity, the entire panel lit up in a flash of color. The humming grew louder, and the ship seemed to come alive around him. Zalara clapped her hands. See? It works better with skin-to-surface contact. The systems respond to your energy. Now, the rest of the repairs are simple. We just need to redirect the flow of energy. Mark could barely process what she was saying. Redirect the energy flow? But it's... He stopped himself. This was her ship, her tech. Who was he to argue with her logic, no matter how insane it seemed? He glanced down at the panel, noticing the small panel that Zalara was gesturing toward. It was, of course, at his feet, and of course, he was supposed to reach down to manipulate it. Mark could feel a bead of sweat forming on his brow as he bent over, trying to focus on anything other than the absurdity of the situation. He had to finish this and get out of here. Zalara was watching him closely, eagerly awaiting his success. Human, you must take control. You must do it with your full focus. The ship has chosen you, she said, her voice low and reverent. Chosen me? Mark repeated, barely able to keep a straight face. He reached for the next panel, his hands shaking slightly. As his fingers made contact, the ship responded, again, like a living entity coming alive under his touch. The energy was flowing smoother now, the turbulence from earlier easing off. Mark found himself shaking his head. This was beyond anything he had ever imagined. An alien ship responding to a human touch as if it was, well, some kind of intimate, physical connection. How had he gotten himself into this mess? But Zalara wasn't done. She was grinning from ear to ear now, proud of the progress they were making. See? You are doing it! Human hands work magic! Mark shot her a confused glance. Yeah, magic. Sure, let's go with that. The ship seemed to groan in approval as the control systems finally stabilized. Mark felt a strange sense of accomplishment, even though he wasn't sure what the hell had just happened. The energy settled, and the ship's systems hummed with new life. Zalara turned to him with a smile that could light up a planet. Human, you have done it. You have helped us fix the ship. This will ensure our survival. Thank you. Mark was too tired to process everything that had just happened. I'm just glad it's over, he said, trying to shake off the weirdness of the whole thing. But then he caught a glimpse of Zalara's face, her wide, innocent smile, and couldn't help but feel a strange sense of pride. Despite the bizarre circumstances, despite the awkwardness, they had actually done it. Now we can leave? Mark asked, his voice a little more hopeful. Zalara tilted her head thoughtfully. Leave? But we have only just begun, human. You are part of this adventure now. You and I together. Mark didn't know what she meant, but somehow, he was beginning to suspect that he wasn't going to be leaving this ship anytime soon. At least not without a few more, uncomfortable encounters. Mark's head was spinning. The Starship had just been fixed, somehow, but he wasn't sure if that was the craziest part of the day. Zalara, the alien pilot who had dragged him into this mess, was still completely oblivious to human norms. She was bouncing around, practically glowing with pride over the fact that they'd managed to save her ship. Mark, on the other hand, was still reeling from the bizarre series of events that had led to this point. stripping down to work on an alien starship, touching glowing panels with bare skin, and somehow, and possibly, fixing a ship with no real knowledge of how it worked. It was like a fever dream, but worse, because Zilara was more than eager to continue their journey. So what now? Mark asked, glancing around the cockpit. He could barely even look at the controls without feeling a sense of vertigo from how quickly everything had spiraled out of control. This was supposed to be a simple repair job, or at least, that was what he had hoped. Zilara turned to him with wide, innocent eyes, her enthusiasm never wavering. Now, human, we continue our journey. The ship is fixed, and I am ready to explore the galaxy with you by my side. Mark blinked. Wait, hold on. Explore the galaxy? He had assumed they'd be heading straight for the nearest safe port to drop him off. He'd never planned on this becoming some kind of cross-galaxy tour with an alien. Of course. The galaxy is vast, and we are free now, Zilara said, as though it was the most natural thing in the world. I have never had a human partner before. This will be the most fun. Mark felt his face flush at the mention of partner. Yeah, sure, he said, trying to smile, but it came out more like a grimace. But we need to talk about this whole partner thing. I'm just a guy trying to get home. Zilara tilted her head as if trying to make sense of his words. Oh, but you are a human. You are full of adventure. I thought this would be an exciting time for both of us. Mark could feel his patience wearing thin. He wasn't sure whether to laugh or cry. Look, Zilara, I'm not your, adventurous partner. I was just trying to survive. Get the ship fixed. Get out. That's it. She blinked, her confusion deepening. But you worked with me. You helped me fix the ship. You have become part of this adventure. Why would you not want to continue? Is there something wrong with the way I work with you? Mark almost choked on his words. It's not about you, Zilara. It's just, this is a lot to take in, okay? I didn't sign up for, well, any of this. Zilara's face fell for a moment, but she quickly regained her bright demeanor. I see, she said, nodding as if she had just figured something out. You must be shy. I understand humans need time to adjust. We will take things slowly. Together. Wait, what? Mark had a sinking feeling that things were only going to get more awkward from here. I don't need time to adjust. I just need to get back to my ship, get off your ship, and go back to my life. This, whatever this is, has gone far enough. But we have already gone so far, Zilara said, now smiling in that way that made Mark feel like he was being pulled deeper into the strange galaxy he had inadvertently stumbled into. You helped me fix my starship. You've touched things no human has ever touched. The bond between us is already formed. Mark stared at her in disbelief. What bond? I touched a damn panel. That's all I did. I'm just here trying to figure out how to get out of this mess, and you. Zilara took a step closer to him, her eyes now intense with something Mark couldn't quite place. You think it was just about the ship? No, human. It's about more than that. You are different. Special. You do not fear me, or the unknown, like other species do. You work with me, no hesitation, no fear. I can feel the connection between us. Don't you feel it too? Mark's stomach twisted. This was insane. He had no idea what she was talking about. He was a human, not some cosmic partner or intergalactic hero. All he wanted was to get the hell off this starship and back to a planet that made sense. But Zilara wasn't finished. My people have always been alone. We were never meant to find a partner, until now. I know that you are the one. Wait, hold on. Mark's voice raised in panic. This is crazy. I'm just a guy who happened to get caught in a bad situation, okay? I don't need any of this weird galactic soulmate nonsense. Zilara's expression softened. She looked at him with an almost sorrowful gaze. You don't understand, do you? You were chosen by the ship. By me. We have a purpose now, human. You are not just any traveler. You are part of something bigger than yourself. Mark took a deep breath, trying to steady his racing thoughts. He wasn't sure what she meant, but the way she spoke, so certain, so earnest, made him wonder if maybe he was missing something. Maybe she didn't know what was going on either, but she wasn't willing to accept that. Maybe he was just in too deep. I don't know what to say, he admitted. I didn't expect any of this. And honestly, I'm not sure what you want from me. I'm just trying to survive here. But it seems like you've got other plans, and I'm not sure I'm part of them. Zalara seemed to think this over, her eyes narrowing as though trying to solve a puzzle. After a moment, she spoke again, her voice soft but full of conviction. You are part of my plan, human. You cannot deny it. The stars have aligned for us to meet. You will see soon enough. Mark was losing track of the conversation. Whatever Zalara was on about, this plan, this connection, it wasn't something he could wrap his head around. It was like she was speaking another language, one that he couldn't understand no matter how hard he tried. Okay, you know what? Mark said, trying to regain some control of the situation. I think it's time I get back to my ship, get things under control, and figure this out. You and I this? Whatever this is? It's over. Zalara didn't seem deterred. Instead, she stepped back and placed a hand gently on Mark's shoulder. I'm afraid, human, that it's not over. This is just the beginning. Mark's heart raced again. What the hell had he gotten himself into? Mark had officially lost all sense of control. The past few hours had been a whirlwind of chaos, miscommunication, and a growing sense that he was somehow trapped in a scenario he couldn't escape from. Zalara, the alien pilot who had first seemed like a minor inconvenience, was now looking at him as if he were the key to unlocking the future of the galaxy. He had no idea what had happened, but he was beginning to suspect that his involvement in this bizarre adventure was far from over. So, what's next? Mark asked, still trying to process everything that had happened. His patience was wearing thin, but he had no choice but to keep moving forward, at least until he could figure out how to get back to his own ship, away from Zalara and her increasingly confusing expectations. Zalara stood there, staring at him with a mix of admiration and something else. She didn't seem to care that Mark was becoming increasingly uncomfortable. Next? She repeated. Why, human, next we continue our journey. The galaxy is full of mysteries, and you are now part of it. Mark didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Look, I don't think you understand. This isn't exactly what I signed up for. I'm not some intergalactic partner or whatever you think I am. I'm just trying to get back to my life, and it seems like everything I do only drags me deeper into this mess. Zalara's eyes narrowed slightly, her expression shifting from curiosity to something more serious. But you are more than that, human. You are connected to me and this ship. You helped fix the core systems. You touched the panels with your hands, and the ship responded. The bond has already been formed, and it cannot be undone. Mark clenched his jaw, trying to process her words. This was madness. His mind raced back to the moment when he had touched the panel, the ship's systems humming to life, almost as if it had recognized him. But that wasn't enough to convince him that he was meant to be some kind of galactic partner to an alien pilot. I'm not part of some cosmic plan, Zalara, Mark said, his voice firm but tinged with frustration. I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm not your partner. I'm not anything special. I just wanted to get out of here. Zalara stepped closer to him, her eyes glowing with intensity. You are more than you realize, human. You are connected to the stars, to the ship, to me. I can feel it. And the ship can feel it too. She placed a hand on his chest, right above his heart, as though she were grounding him to the very core of the starship. We have already begun this journey together. It is our destiny. Mark stiffened, her touch sending an unexpected chill down his spine. He took a step back, feeling the weight of her words sink into his chest. He wanted to pull away, to reject everything she was saying, but for some reason, he couldn't. There was something about her conviction that was impossible to ignore. It was as if she believed everything she was saying, believed that this was meant to happen. Look, I don't know what kind of destiny you're talking about, Mark said, trying to keep his voice steady. But I didn't sign up for this. I just need to get back to my ship and figure out how to get back to Earth. Zalara looked at him with a soft smile, but there was something in her eyes that made Mark uneasy. You think you can return to your old life, human? After all that has happened? The stars have chosen you. You are not meant to go back. You are meant to move forward with me. The words echoed in Mark's mind, and he couldn't shake them. He was meant to move forward with her. He wasn't sure what she meant, but it felt like there was no way out. He had tried to get away, but every attempt to escape had only pulled him deeper into her world. He had touched the ship's systems. He had connected with the ship in ways he couldn't explain. And now, Zalara was looking at him like he was the answer to everything. Listen, I just want to go home, Mark said again, this time with more desperation in his voice. I don't know what you think is happening here, but I'm not the one. I'm not your partner. I'm not some chosen one. I'm just a guy who got stuck in a really messed up situation. Zalara's gaze softened, but she didn't pull away. Instead, she tilted her head and took another step closer. You misunderstand, human. You are not just anyone. You are the one who will help me. Together, we can explore the stars, experience everything the galaxy has to offer. Mark felt a sense of dread wash over him. He had never been one to shy away from adventure, but this was different. This was insane. He wasn't ready for this kind of responsibility, this kind of relationship. And yet, every time he tried to reject it, Zalara's words held him in place like gravity. Zalara, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I don't think you understand. I'm not the answer you're looking for. I'm not your savior or whatever you think I am. I'm just a guy who's trying to get through the day. She paused, looking at him for a long moment, as if she were considering his words. And then, with a soft smile, she spoke again, this time with a tone that was almost gentle. You are more than just a man, human. You are a part of the stars. And the stars have chosen you. Mark felt his heart race, his thoughts swirling. He didn't know what to think anymore. This was madness. There was no way he could be what she thought he was, what she wanted him to be. But no matter how many times he tried to push her away, the more it felt like he was being pulled into her world. He took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. I don't want to be part of any destiny or cosmic plan. I just want to get out of here. Zalara's smile faded slightly, but she didn't move away. You will not escape, human. Not now. Not after what we've shared. The journey has begun, and there is no turning back. Mark's chest tightened. The words were like chains, locking him in place. No matter what he did, he couldn't escape this. He was trapped in this alien ship with no clear way out. And Zalara? She was determined to keep him by her side, no matter what it took.